Hello, good evening, and welcome to another Namarin Live. Today, I'm live from my bedroom, which is kind of weird. Literally in the corner, someone said it looks like I'm in a cabinet or like a wardrobe, which isn't too far from the truth. I did have some bags hanging up there a moment ago, which I've got rid of for you. But anyway, welcome to another Namarin Live. We're live on LinkedIn, YouTube as well. And today we're going to be talking about animation. Animation is a core part of our offerings at Nemarin Film and Video, but if you haven't worked on animated video before, it can be a little bit complicated. So we thought we'd put together today's live stream for you to help demystify the whole process. And hopefully by the time you get to the end of the stream, you'll realize that, wow, it's actually really straightforward. Now, to help you translate some of the jargon, because animation and motion graphics is absolutely full of technical jargon, as is video production in general, of course, we have one of our producers joining us, Tom. Hello, Tom.
How are you doing? I'm good. How are you?
You're in a wardrobe as well, it looks like it.
Yeah, it kind of looks like I'm in some sort of padded cell in the background there. But
Are you in a padded cell?
I don't think so, no.
Okay, good. All right. Just checking. Now, if you have any really hard questions for Tom, he loves really, really hard questions. So do fire them over. If you have any questions about animation in general, yeah, we would love to hear from you. To use the chat box on whichever platform you are watching us on at the moment. Of course, animation is a really popular form of video production and has been around for donkey's years, like 100 years or longer. There's a wide range of different styles, of course, like hand-drawn content, 3D animation, 2D, 2.5D. Who thought that was a thing, but it is a thing. Stop motion, of course. We love stop motion at Nemarin. And animation in general is evolving all the time, both from a technology point of view, but also from a creative point of view. One of the advantages, though, of course, of animation is that it's really easy to make during a pandemic. So if you happen to be in a pandemic one day, and animation is the one for you, because of course there's no travel involved. Everyone can work from home basically, or from their own computers and so on. So it's a great solution for these weird times that we're living in at the moment. Now, as I say, Nemarin has been working on animation for a long time. We do both live action and animated content. So let's have a quick look at our show reel so you can see what we've been up to. Okay, some examples of work that's been keeping us busy over at Number in Film and Video over the last few years. And our producer, Tom, has been in a very fortunate position. We've been able to work on lots of great projects, as you've just seen in our show reel. But Tom, if we had a client that was kind of considering working on an animation, why should a client go down that route versus live action, for example?
It's a good question. I think when somebody says video, I think a lot of people just automatically default to cameras, camera crew, live action, corporate video, talking heads, that kind of thing. But animation is an incredibly versatile format, and it's one of the reasons why I love it so much. There's absolutely no restriction on creativity, because everything that you see in an animation is created. It's either hand drawn or you build it digitally. We're not filming anything. We're not going out with cameras. Basically anything you can imagine, you can animate. Okay. So there's no restrictions when it comes to locations, camera crew, permits. It's all basically just created from scratch.
Well, there's a comment here from John on Facebook, just picking up on your point that you could literally do anything starting from a blank bit of paper. Could you animate Bobby Davro playing tennis with Margaret Thatcher?
I mean, yeah, I don't see why not.
May as well. Yeah, we'll do that, especially for John. It's the sort of thing that he would like. But yeah, I guess just in terms of starting from a blank piece of paper, you can literally create anything that you want from scratch, I suppose. I guess it's partly down to budget, but that's the case, right?
Yeah, pretty much. So the idea of animation is it's essentially a series of still images which are put together to create the illusion of movement. And it's kind of how film works, but it's basically, rather than taking photos, which is what film is, you're creating images. And there's a whole, as we've seen in the reel, there's a whole range of different ways that we could do that, whether that's hand drawn, kind of the old fashioned sort of Warner Brothers Looney Tunes style, or whether that's using high-tech 3D software or stop motion. There's just a massive range of things.
Yeah, and of course, when people think of animation, they're probably thinking about things like Mickey Mouse or something, for example. But of course, animation can work for B2B audiences as well. So if we had a B2B client, for example, that would work for them as well, wouldn't it, Tom? Yeah,
exactly. So the process is very much the same, whether you're making something for B2B or B2C. I think really the main thing that changes is the messaging, maybe the style that you would go for. Like all of our video projects, you always have to consider the audience before we do anything. So it could be a change in the music style, a change in the color palette, the tone, the general messaging. But the actual process of creating an animation will be the same, whether we're making something for a large consumer audience or something very bespoke to just a few people or a B2B space.
Okay, cool. We've actually got a B2B example here. This is for a company called Audio Boom. We created this video, it was a good couple of years ago now. Essentially, the video was created for a B2B audience of investors, actually. And it sort of summarizes their business proposition. But we kind of took a bit of a B2C approach to what is basically a B2B video, as I say. Now, James, who's pressing the buttons in the background, not behind me, he's over there somewhere, not literally over there, around the corner. I don't know, James, if we probably don't need to play the full video, but we can probably play like a minute or so. So let's have a look at this.
Hi there. So what's Audio Boom and podcasting all about? Well, every day, millions of people in the USA, UK, and around the world get in their car, train, office, bed, and turn on their smartphone.
Hey Siri.
Tablet.
Okay Google.
Laptop.
Let's play a podcast.
And importantly, home digital assistant.
Alexa, find me today's news.
And listen to digital audio delivered direct to the listener on demand. Since 2010, young people have been abandoning traditional radio in their millions, instead selecting their own hand-picked content via phones and other devices, just like people watch TV on demand through Netflix or Amazon Prime. These listeners are young, wealthy, and highly engaged. Gold dust for advertisers. By the end of 2017, 40% of all audio listening will be on demand. Podcasting and on-demand audio will become a multi-billion-dollar industry, and advertisers love the medium.
The shows we work with on Audio Boom typically give us a 23% better CPA than our other shows.
Cool. All right, a little clip there from a project that we worked on recently for Audio Boom. Tom, can you talk us through the production process for a project like that?
Yeah, this was a really fun project, actually, and it's a really good example of how we would generally go about any kind of animation project. So the process was pretty atypical of this kind of thing. The first thing that we do is we kick off by creating what we call style frames. So these are basically, it's almost like concept art, I suppose, that you would have in a movie or a video game, which is a still illustration of something that like the kind of style that we would want the whole video to be. So they're not animated, they're just still images, and this is where we get a chance for the client to talk about color palettes, tones, and then that gives them a chance to feed back and say, we want the lines to be thicker, we want it to be darker, we want it to be more like this, less like this. And this is just kind of a sort of a little taste of what it will end up looking like, a little feel of it.
Okay, great. And the next stage along would be an animatic?
Yeah, so, well, I think probably before that we would do a script, because the script is dependent on, or the whole video is dependent on the duration. So a script, look a bit something like that, will basically be a description of what's happening in the video and the voiceover that goes along with it. And it's really important to lock this down first, because the timing and the duration of the whole video will depend on this script. And then we'll jump into making a storyboard, which is basically what all of each individual frame will look like alongside the voiceover, which will give a really good sense of this bit goes here, then this bit goes, and then this will happen, and then that will happen. And then before we do the final animation, as you said, we'll create what we call an animatic, which is a bit like those style frames that we put together beforehand. And we'll put them together in order of the storyboard, match it up with the voiceover, put some music over it. And this gives everyone an opportunity to see exactly what the video will feel like, what it will look like. It gives the client a chance to say, I'm not too sure about this one, or can we have a bit more of this and a bit more of that? And we do all of that before the final animation, which is the part of the process that takes the longest. So it's an opportunity to basically make any final tweaks before we've fully committed to the process, if that makes sense. And then we'll finish off by doing the actual animation, which is when everything starts to come to life and move.
Yeah, of course. And obviously, because we've gone down the storyboard and the animatic route, by the time you get to the end video, there should be no surprises, because everyone's seen what they're getting before it's actually being built.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's the process for 2D. Is it a similar process for 3D animation, for example, and motion graphics?
Yeah, it's a similar process. I think the main thing is making sure that we have animatics and style frames locked down at the beginning of the process, because it gives everyone an opportunity to basically say whether they're not happy with anything before we're fully committed to animation. The main difference between 3D and 2D is the software that we use and the kind of the overall look of the animation in the end result. But the actual process of creating it is very, very similar.
All right, excellent. We're going to have another look at another video here. This is actually, funnily enough, for another B2B client, an amazing company called Polestar, which if you're into technology and kind of high-tech stuff, then Polestar's one to check out. Let's have a look at their video.
90% of world trade is transported by sea. With an industry worth $18 trillion, monitoring safety and compliance is more important than ever. To ensure its transit is safe, secure, clean, efficient, and compliant, the maritime environment is becoming an increasingly connected space. Polestar has been the leading innovator of ship tracking, ship security alert, and shipping compliance services since 1998. Through the provision of innovative technology and advanced SaaS solutions, Polestar delivers 24/7, 365 actionable business intelligence and decision support to the maritime, banking and finance, and government sectors, connecting ship owners, operators, managers, charterers with their ships to optimize operational performance and safeguard their crews and cargoes, connecting governments to fleets, whether merchant ships or fishing vessels, to help meet their international safety, security, and environmental obligations. Connecting financing banks, trade and commodity finance, and commodity shippers to mitigate exposure to criminal and reputational risk. Connecting all maritime trade stakeholders to Polestar's advanced platform API ecosystem, enabling seamless third-party integration and business application development. With a network of international offices, distributors, and approved service centers, Polestar has a presence at every major global shipping center and is able to provide uninterrupted multilingual customer and technical support to a 24-hour industry. Monitoring 40,000 ships on behalf of over 1,100 clients located in more than 100 countries. Polestar is at the cutting edge of global maritime information exchange, enabling a future of smart, connected ships, helping to connect the Internet of Things at sea, and delivering real-time, actionable intelligence to its clients. Polestar, the future of connected maritime intelligence.
Great, that was a fun project from a couple of years ago for Polestar, a mixture of 2D, 2.5D, and 3D in one project, which is kind of cool. We have a quick question here that's come through from Martin. How you doing, Martin? Can we help with scripts as well, Tom?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, basically, I think what we do here is the full package. So, and in fact, we prefer getting involved at the early stages. It's possible to kind of jump in when there's an existing storyboard and a script, but it's definitely a much better process when everyone's involved right from the beginning. So yeah, we advise on writing scripts. We can write them ourselves. Generally, we say that a brand knows their messaging better than anyone else, so perhaps they would do a first draft, and then we can kind of jump in and tweak it and refine it and make some suggestions based on our experience. But yeah, of course, yeah, scripting is half of the challenge, because this all, video production is very much telling stories, and you can have the flashiest graphics in the world at the end of the day, but if the script isn't up to it, then it's going to be a lackluster video.
Now, we've looked at two B2B examples there, but does the approach to B2C kind of consumer-facing content change? If it's a little 5-second thing, for example, for Instagram?
Yeah, so physically, the production process won't change at all. Generally, the change will be in the scripting stage and in the general creative. So you might use brighter colors, might be more vibrant, it might be shorter. We might use different kind of music. Really sort of depends on the sort of audience that you're trying to tap into. But stop motion, for instance, is really good for consumers, because it's such a fun, I don't know, everyone just kind of gets a bit of a kick out of seeing real objects come to life.
Nicely teed up, Tom. What a All right, let's have a look at a short form consumer facing stop motion animation, which was very much aimed at a like Instagram, Facebook audience. This was something that we made not so long ago for the finance company Curve. Yeah, that was short but sweet, but one of many videos that we created for them. And the idea is that it would appear in your scroll, and it's more likely to kind of stop the scroll, so you engage with the brand. But so Tom, could you talk us through the approach to stop motion? It's been around for a billion years, but what is stop motion?
Yeah, so stop motion is, again, the process is very similar to 2D animation, 3D animation, but instead of animating pictures, what you're doing is is basically animating still objects. So the process is you have an object and you place it on a set or on a table, and you take a photo of it, and then you move it slightly, and then you take another photo of it, and you move it slightly again, you take another photo, and then in the end you have hundreds, thousands of photos. You put them all together, and the object is moving around by itself. It's kind of the illusion of movement, I suppose. And the object can be anything. It can be an enormous thing, or like in the example that you can see on the screen at the moment, this was something we did for a telecoms company, and everything there was made out of paper, made out of cardboard. So this was all bespoke, designed for this project.
So everything that we're looking at there was actually shot in camera, wasn't it? There's no, I don't think we actually added any motion graphics or anything here.
No. Yeah. So everything, it's all the paper clips you can see moving around in the coffee and stuff. Yeah, it's all real physical objects that we moved around shot by shot. So it's a painstaking process, but the results are really cool, and everyone seems to love it. It's really great for consumers. It's really engaging. Everyone's familiar with famous stop motion brands like Morph and Wallace and Gromit and Shaun the Sheep, and in the US they have things like the Box Trolls and stuff like that, and it's a timeless style, and people just keep coming back to it. It's just, it's brilliant.
Fantastic, great. And so sort of more broadly, why would you say that animation is so good for brands to get involved in?
Several reasons. I think it's like I said earlier, it's timeless. You can create a really evergreen piece of content if it's an animation or motion graphics. You're really only kind of limited by your creativity, and you can choose a style which will definitely last for years even. I think a concern that some brands have when they make video content is if they include members of their own staff in a live action video, like a brand film, then sometimes those members of staff move on, they go to do different jobs, they do different things, and it doesn't particularly reflect well on the brand. It doesn't age the video very well. Animation removes all of that. Animation can also be done totally remotely. We've been doing a lot of motion graphics and animation in the last few months, certainly this year particularly, when it's a bit trickier people to go out and film. We obviously are going out and filming, but sometimes clients might be shielding, maybe clients themselves that don't want to be being around film crew, which is absolutely fine. Animation is a perfect solution to all of that.
Great. Now, we love animation, but we also love filming. And we were very lucky recently to work on a project for NBC Universal, which was basically a long-form documentary about the origins of Woody Woodpecker. And it was an amazing project to work on for various reasons, including actually seeing the new series coming to life. So what we're actually going to do now is have a little clip of one of the extra edits that we put together. So let's have a look at that.
The process of how we do what we do is not, it may seem mechanical, but in reality, everything that you do in creating animation is about analyzing movement. If it was just a bunch of drawings, anybody could do it. How you time it, that's the skill of animation, and then you create personality so that the character appears to have life. Because animation is such a labor-intensive art form, thank God for computers that have allowed us to do our work just that much more efficiently.
And if his hands are like that out protecting himself, then we get that.
Oh, I see what you mean, like he was in the previous.
Exactly.
Like
so we get that hook up there.
Okay, all right, I'll do that.
Woody is battling Cupid in this episode, who's trying to shoot him with love arrows.
For me, it's like, if it isn't funny, then it's like I'm going to be trying to figure out a way to make it funny. Back in the day, if you do a drawing on paper, that's it. You get a trace, you got to change it and everything. We take figure out what we're going to do in making a few poses, and then we draw in between. What I'm working on now is a drawing table, a light table. This is the traditional tables that we use. You turn your light on underneath, and you can see the drawings. You can see the spaces between the drawings. We'll say, you know, like how many drawings is it going to take for him to get from one position to the next. You know, if it takes a second, say, or half a second, so we know there's going to be, like, say, 12 drawings in there to get from here to there. You know, if he does a surprised look or something, you know, it's got to, you know, work into that. And then we just keep adding drawings to smooth it out, see? It requires that you make 24 drawings for every 1 second of action. You're talking about like 1,440 drawings that have to be made for every 1 minute that goes by. And, you know, if you're making, say, like a 10 or 15-minute cartoon, you're looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of 86,000 drawings that have to be made. But it just goes to show that if you're passionate about doing this stuff, you could do some really, really lovely stuff, but it is a tremendous amount of work.
Cool. That was such a fun project to work on, and little peek behind the scenes there of the new series of Woody Woodpecker, which you can check out on YouTube. And a good example of how the big studios are still using animation, but it is accessible to anybody, big budgets, B2B, B2C, small budgets, you name it, really. So, of course, if you are considering going down the animation route, we would love to hear from you. One last question, though, for Tom. It's from Martin again. Hiya, Martin. You mentioned the importance of sound and music. When in the project is it advisable to start thinking about it?
That's a great question. The short answer is day one, I suppose. If you have a tone in mind, if you have a kind of style in mind, then you can start finding music tracks literally from before you've even put pen to paper. It might even be a particular music track that's inspired the whole project in the first place. Definitely sound design is something that really brings things to life. If you imagine you're in a live action shoot and maybe you're filming in a crowd, you get the audio of this kind of crowd bubbling and making a lot of noise. If you are making an animation and everything is hand drawn or everything is created, then it can feel quite sterile if you don't have that sound design. So adding in sound design to bring all of these images to life is just a really fantastic way of kind of taking that to the next level. So sound design, that's generally done right at the end of the process, but having that in mind while you're creating things is really, really valuable. And music, again, yeah, just start from day one, find a good music track. And generally, if you edit or create the animation with that music track in mind, so you can kind of track the highs and the lows, then you're just going to end up with a brilliant video.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I tend to find that it's really useful to have a bit of music in mind when you're at the very early stages. And once you've got the music in mind, then the visuals can follow. But Tom, thank you very much for your time today. That was really, really interesting. If you would like to work with Tom or anyone else from the Nemrin team, do drop us a line. We're over at nemrin.com. You can leave a message here if you like. 0330 122 4714. DM me and all that kind of cool stuff that people say now. But yeah, we would love to hear from you. If you have any video briefs, do drop us a line. But that's it for this live stream from Nemrin Film and Video. I hope you have a great evening. But for now, I'll leave you with our 2020 showreel. Cheers. Any moment now. And cue the showreel. Okay, if we can't go to the showreel, we'll wrap it up here. We'll try it one last time. Here's our showreel. All right, we'll just wrap it up here. Thank you very much indeed for watching. There'll be another LinkedIn Live very, very soon. So we'll catch up with you before long. See you later.
Nemrin Film and Video,
the world's branded video agency.
2020 showreel.
I always wanted to be a storyteller.
I knew I wanted to do something more creative.
Something really magical.
Everything is about rhythm.
Ow! Sheer publicity.
Okay, so the faces thing?
Yes.
Irreplaceable and personal.
There is no comparison to beauty.
And you will